Hey everybody. So I used to do commentaries and I don't do them that much anymore. There are a variety of reasons why I don't. Real life tends to be the major factor here. I'm working multiple jobs. I am a full-time educator and I don't have time for drama. I don't have time to research all the different peccadillos and egregious uh, lack of judgment and lapses in judgment or whatever the hell is going on. It's kind of like turning into a monster of the week kind of deal. Each week there's some new controversy. It's like I'm almost watching an episode of, All My Children or General Hospital because there's a whole bunch of just nonsense that keeps erupting in this community of mine. Um, I don't even know if I want to say community of mine. I feel estranged from it. I feel like, I had my honeymoon years 10 years ago, and, now I feel like a very distant stranger to this community. But every so often I pop in. I'm like a secret shopper. I check in on the state of the community, measure its vital signs, and then, go back to my den where I just exist in other places. And this community has demonstrated on many occasions since there were many exposés done on so many people. The community has shown a gross lack of just self awareness, of communication between people, and it's a very sucky situation overall. There are many people that have been exposed, like Ray Kohai and George Raccoon and V Omega and Neko Koda and most recently Dan Alexai. The sad thing about all these exposés is that at one point or another I was either friends or cordial with them. And it sucks that I didn't realize their ugliness sooner. Um, the most recent thing that I've witnessed, which Doodle posted recently, and I have to give credit to Doodle. Doodle has been on top of a lot of the drama and has made like mega length videos on it. I'm someone who consumes long form video content, so I mean, watching a 9 hour video is to me, a nice challenge rather than something that deters me. I mean, I listen to audiobooks for God's sake; those are like hours and hours and hours long. But Doodle's most recent video was basically a collaboration between her, Leo Convoy, and several others, talking about the inaction of several people and I guess their inability to share with the Cloud Palace someone who still had a lifeline to V. Now, I'm going to relate a story that is, I guess, adjacent to this, and I think this should be used as a lesson or a learning tool for anybody who is one of those 6 degrees of separation people away from a toxic human being. Like, it doesn't matter if you're like 1 or 2 degrees separation away from that person, you really need to out that person. I blocked V myself, so, and that was 3 years ago. So, people should do the same. But here's my story. Um, Dan Alexai was called out for being someone who associated with a very gross person. I'm not going to go too deep into detail here. Everybody went into detail about Dan Alexai already. But I run a Discord server, and Dan was in that server. And Dan has been in that server for as long as I can remember. And my friends and I made that server back in 2016. So Dan has been in that server being a regular contributor, and I remember I was in a Discord call. Very rarely do I organize Discord calls anymore, but I felt the time was right to make a Discord call. And of course, Dan waltzes in. Dan says, "Oh, I feel like I made a mistake. A lot of people don't like me now, but whatever." And I thought it was Dan going on one of his rants again, because sometimes Dan goes into a bad state of things. He doesn't feel good about himself, so he tends to vent about his life. But that's really all Dan did in the voice calls, aside from, leaving his microphone on and we hear everything in the background. It was either that or he complained about something. But that made him more benign, if anything. It wasn't really like an indication of anything toxic. But Dan said those cryptic messages. That made me think. I was like, okay, what do you mean by that, Dan? He's like, oh, I felt like I made a mistake. And it's like, okay, what do you mean by mistake? So as soon as, Dan said that, he's like, well, I gotta go. He leaves. Then Space Guru 5 tells me that Dan engaged in all this activity with a toxic human being. He was outed to be an associate of a toxic human who has done things in the past that has made other people feel uncomfortable and whatnot. And the minute I caught wind of it, I immediately banned him from my server before my other admins had the chance to IP ban. And the thing is, I had to act quickly because if someone is going to side with another person who is a toxic human, that's when, for me, the problem is bigger than the both of us. And then, you move on from that situation. That's how I see it in my mind. If the problem is like a gargantuan issue that I can't resolve, that nobody really can resolve unless you either stay with that person for the rest of your life and keep us out of our affairs, or you seek out professional help for it. That is the end of just my ability to rationalize the situation. That is the end of my ability to give you a free pass, because let me tell you something, I give people free passes more often than I should. And like I've told you earlier in the video, all the people that were exposed in the community were in one way or another amicable with me or friends with me. So it's, I try to give the benefit of the doubt. But if you cross a specific line, such as all the very gross and ugly things that I've heard, everything from sexual assault to stalking, grooming of minors, to just being a very angry and horrendous person, to having associations that are questionable, to outright manufacturing lies about other people, just all these different ugly things. They're all different orders of magnitude, but they're all just under the category of gross human behavior. So it's one thing if you engage in one isolated example of gross human behavior, and you try to do better and rehabilitate yourself. It's another if you engage in a pattern. And Dan was engaging in a regular pattern of that behavior. So, we had to remove him from the group, and I immediately banned him from the group. And that's what everybody should have done with V, and that's what everybody should be doing with anybody at all that is just disgusting and rude and downright just inhuman to other people. That's essentially my PSA. I'm checking in on the SCC, like the title card says, and I'm seeing there's a whole lot of just fractiousness. There's a whole lot of just conflict going on. There's a whole lot of nonsense going on. There's people engaging in these horrendous actions. And you know what? It kind of justifies, and it makes me feel good that I've taken a sort of bench warmer position in this community. I have not made any serious content for years, and that's the reason why, is because every time I befriend someone, or I just turn around and think that, okay, maybe this person is nice, they really are just not. They really are people that are out to get you, or they're rude, or they're obnoxious, or they engage in particularly harmful, pernicious behaviors. And not everybody in the community is like that. Yeah, I know. But when you harbor these people, and when you find out that other people, just associate with people that talk to them, or at least they are some baseline okay with it, I don't know. I don't know how you process that in your mind. I mentioned that or I guess I mentioned in a Discord chat, that there are many different reasons, I think, why people either stay friends with a toxic person or don't say anything about a toxic person. There's a whole variety of factors, everything from Stockholm syndrome to neurodivergence, which is what I have. So, I mean, I can use that card. I mean, I've engaged in neurodivergent behaviors in the past. I am not a perfect human by any stretch of the imagination. Um, there are people who will find justifications because they hold their friends close, and losing a friend would be a traumatic experience. There is an abundance of reasons, but the speculation is completely unnecessary when you realize that you shouldn't be friends with or be friends of people who are just, by lack of a better term, either sociopathic or psychopathic. And that's the long and short of it. So, uh, I really, really hope that the SCC does better. Speaking as someone who's a veteran of this community who has seen like shenanigans, and I mean it when I say shenanigans, I have not seen shenanigans to this, tipping point, flashpoint level ever. And if I was more active, I would have more to say. But I'm at a loss for words, and I feel that making this video and this kind of like semi PSA is the best way to just communicate my feelings on the matter. So that's it, and that's all, folks. I don't know if I'm going to be making videos like this in the future. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. But I'm sorry for the lack of script. I'm sorry for the lack of visuals, but that's the best I can muster at this point. It's just everything that has been said, and just me being an outsider to the situation, even though I have like a semi horse in this race, because I know the people involved. I know the people that have been outed. It's just very shocking, and it's crazy beyond any stretch of the imagination. Lord knows how many people in the Cloud Palace have felt the foobar and have felt the snafu. Um, so that's it, and I just wanted to comment on that. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. I really, really wish the best for all involved, and I really, really hope that in the future we can improve our communication and weed out these people faster and have them not be a continual talking point in this community, because they should not be. And yes, I know I'm perpetuating it because I'm talking about it, but I mean, it's relevant still. And this should not be a relevant talking point. This should be something we all should take to heart and move on. But such is the nature of a chaotic internet with an amoral machine behind it. So that's it. That's all. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for listening to my rambling. Have a wonderful day, folks, and I'll see you all on the brighter later. Peace out, y'all, and bye. Hey guys, post editing YBF91 here. Two things I just wanted to mention before I officially close the video, because knowing me, I can never close videos in a normal way. First thing is, I did mention George Raccoon. Space Guru 5 wanted me to mention that most of the allegations leveled against George Raccoon were proven to be false. The one real thing about George Raccoon that must be pointed out is that he was very reckless about his kinks with minors. So most of the other things were manufactured by Ray, who I mentioned in the video already has a rap sheet and already was exposed for a myriad of things, up to but not including manipulation and being abusive and saying a bunch of very horrible things. So there's that. And the second thing I want to say is another common excuse I think people go to in order to defend their associations with negative and gross people is, they want to fix them. They want to take that responsibility and just fix them because they have some hope that they will be better and they will improve as a person. And while I can understand that sentiment, and I understand that, okay, well, you want to fix somebody, that's great, that is not your responsibility to fix somebody. That's left to the professionals. So number one. Number two, people that are broken to an extent, like all the people I mentioned in the beginning of the video, they are beyond help. And you're putting your effort into people that don't respond well to help or will not respond to help, whether they are just so knee deep in their own ugliness or they have committed acts that are not quite redeemable. Um, so don't put it upon yourself to fix someone, and don't put your mental health at stake because you've tried to see the good in everyone. It's great that you're seeing the good in everyone, but it's not great that you're putting your mental health on, a crucifix because you think that the other person has some redeemable qualities and you can, be the hero of this story, and find their beauty in their own layers and layers and layers of ugliness. Like, this is not Shrek. This is the real world, and these people have said and done things that are not quite good. So anyway, that's the end of my clarification. I'm going to end this video for real now. So see you all on the brighter later, and bye.